Hello and welcome back. So my next guest is a friend of mine, and he's an amazing director of photography. His name is Mr. Kanayo. He actually, I've been on a set with him before. There was a movie we produced last year called Kissing Shadows. That's going to be out next year, so you guys watch out for that movie. It's going to be fantastic. So he was absolutely fantastic on set. And I thought I'd ask him to come in today to talk about himself and also talk about the training that he also does for people. So, Mr. Kanayo, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Morning.
Compliments of the season.
Same to you, man.
How are you today?
Hey, I couldn't complain.
Yeah?
If I did, wouldn't change the weather.
Right? That's what I think. Yeah. Okay, so tell me more about yourself. What inspired you into going into being a director of photography, for instance?
Well, first and foremost, I started out in theater, and I love that. It's really about telling stories, the center of it. I realized I could talk. See, as a kid, you know, I'm the last out of six, and I was the one who would hold up the whole room talking. So I started from that direction. I came from a legal family, and so it was like, well, you're going to do law. But I said, okay, no, that's not the direction. So my first degree was in theater.
Okay.
So I started from that, and then I realized I had a passion for trying to influence change and make life better. So it isn't so much escapism, but I wanted to recreate the world in a way that would help people understand themselves better and be the best that they could. So all in all, that's what led me into getting into becoming an artist in general.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I know you've worked in Hollywood before.
Yes, I've had the opportunity.
Tell me about that.
I'll keep it short. My first foray into Hollywood was working on the set of the movie Amistad.
Oh, okay.
Spielberg's picture that was also produced by Debbie Allen. I had worked with Debbie Allen before.
Debbie Allen, the dancer?
The choreographer and the producer.
Yeah.
So I had a theater company. A colleague and I run a theater company in the Bay Area. We're based in the Bay Area in California. And we got this young man who sent us a script. And he said, you know, we had an African theater company, and he wanted some Africans to read the script. All said and done, we got together, read it, and some things came out of it with my colleague. And about a year later, my colleague sends me this email, early days of email, and says, hey, you know what? They're looking for actors in Hollywood for this movie. And we compared the stories and what we said. I said, we kind of are familiar with this. All said and done, I'd been in theater all that while, never really got into film, and decided, all right, let's go for it. And we went for the audition, and basically they tossed, a bone on our lap, said, okay, what can you do that is African? And we're like, all right, we got our drums on the car. And I got cast as a principal on it. And it was my first foray as an actor in Hollywood. And from then on, got to do some other stuff with Universal Studios, with Disney Studios, with HBO. And it's been fun.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So have you had any challenges so far in your journey?
Yeah. Yes. First and foremost, I decided as a storyteller, as an artist, filmmaking was one direction. I also direct in theater. My best story when it comes to challenges has been in film. First, I had to understand that film is not simply about just, taking shots. It's about story. Story comes first. You have a great story. You can use a cell phone to tell, to make a movie. And that took me a while, and I lost a lot of time and a lot of money with my first picture, learning that process. So I guess that's been the first challenge. And of course, the usual one, understanding that it's show business. So I was on the show side, and really got good at the show side because I'd been in theater, I'd been in that, I'd been an actor, and then I realized, you need money to keep this going. So it's a balance between the passion, how much time you put into it, and how to survive through that process until somebody says, you know what, I like what you're doing, and this is something I'm going to put my back behind.
Okay, so is that where the training comes? Because I know you actually organize training.
Yes.
I've actually been to one or two of your training events,
Yes.
and they've been amazing, very, very enlightening. So is that where this comes in?
Yes, because I got to understand that working with a lot of people, either as a DP like we met on set, or as an actor on their set, or sometimes directing for them, I realized that we all have a passion to do something, to showcase something, to say something. It's a platform. And technology has allowed us so much, opportunity for everybody to be, an editor, to be that, to tell a story somehow. But there is still something about understanding the process. The show, the process for the show, and the process for the business, and how they marry perfectly to deliver something that can reach your audience and sustainably allow you get to the next one. There are a lot of one-time wonders, a lot of them, but sustainably, that's one of the most important parts. So yes, that's where training comes into the picture. We realized we're going to start a program which, we called Roll-Camera-Action Workshop, which we had the opportunity to start last year here in the UK. And it's been excellent because we had a studio, we had about 3 studios which we had in Cheshunt. Now we've moved to Dagenham. And it was the opportunity to reach out to those who don't really get the opportunity to train, to have 10 weeks of workshops, meeting with people who are professionals in the industry, writers, other storytellers, editors, cameramen, different people in different fields, directors, makeup artists, and editors. And it really was a great opportunity because one thing that came out of it was that the instructors themselves realized that they were also learning from those who came on board. And it was quite instrumental because the aim was not just to teach you, but to end up with 1 or 2 products at the end of the whole season. So you're not just coming on board to learn, but you're gaining some skills and you're starting work right at the end of it.
So are they assured of starting something? Or because I remember when I came, there was this idea that we had some scripts, and then there was going to be a movie at the end of it.
Yes.
So that's still the case?
That's still the case. And the best part was that, you see, life happens in show business. And we decided we're going to stay true to what we were teaching. Do the marketing. Before, most people think, I'm going to make a movie and sell it. Not necessarily the right direction, even as an indie. The truth is that the best movies you get to see have already been sold before the camera is opened. Somebody wants it. It's a product. And if somebody wants the product, then you know what you want to put in it and you're not wasting money. So we were true to that, and we're hoping, well, we're going to do 2 series. But we focused primarily on finishing 2 really good series that are meant for the Nollywood market, but also for the African diaspora market as well. And we fashioned and put our energies into making sure we had those ready. So we went through casting, the auditions, on which you came, and we, after meeting and putting our heads together, we eventually decided we have a new season starting at the end of January.
Okay.
And it's an opportunity for some of those who've been in it to also be back. But we already have a cast waiting. And then we have another series that's going to join us. So our hope is to have 5 series at the end of next year.
That's fantastic.
And it's a beautiful pipeline. It's an opportunity, like I said, not just for us to put our skills into the grinder and see if it's really going to come out with something we can eat, but at the same time, it's for us to train ourselves. It's capacity building. Have the people who can do the work behind the camera. Have the people who can do the work in front. And at the same time, we're all getting trained. So it's not really teaching per se, it's sharing.
Sharing, okay. So financially though, how's that going? And first of all, for you, as I would call it a business in a way, as a business, and also for the people coming in who are coming for the training, is it affordable for them? And are you making money, return on investment?
We are on the 3 counts, so to speak.
Okay.
Number 1, in terms of finance, we're working with 1 or 2 organizations, and we are still looking for more who can come work with us, because, they have the opportunity of investing on the basis of a grant, a corporate grant.
Okay.
They have the opportunity of coming on board as investors in the sense that you're invested in the show. So just like you would a typical picture, If it makes some return, you know you're going to get something, some return for your investment. And at the same time, they have options of product placement into the program, which we do, because we have both an online platform and we intend to also work with terrestrial, getting the buy-in. So our hope is that right now we are working with 1 or 2 partners to put up the means for us to be able to do what we did the last time.
Okay.
Give an opportunity for 10 students or 10 people to come on board free.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
And that's something, so the sooner you're able to get on, roll-camera-action.com, subscribe, go ahead and enroll. The earlier people who come in are able to...
First 10 people.
First 10 people will be able to get, well, I don't know, I guess some people have already taken some of the slots, but, the sooner people are able to get on board. And then we have people who can pay, but they're also supported. They're also supported by the second organization. Okay. And we're looking for more people who can say, look, we have so number of people. We would want these people to get training, to be able to come up with a proper end result that's worth its while, that understands the market and the market is willing to receive. So organizations are welcome to come on board.
Okay. Have you approached the likes of BFI, for instance?
We actually haven't. We've pitched them with one of the stories.
Okay.
And we intend to follow through with the other. The idea being, I think they're a wonderful opportunity for people to connect with, not just because they're a great establishment here, but they work with independent film.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, apart from finances, what has been your challenges, either as a director of photography in any of your movie sets, or so far what you do? Have you had any roadblocks?
Well, this business takes time. Patience is one of them. And you get to learn, number one, that it doesn't happen overnight. And when you get into it, it's a long gestation, business. So I guess that's one of them. There's home front. You have kids, you have the wife. Sometimes I'm traveling, doing work. For instance, in Nigeria, sometimes I'm gone for weeks on end. Sometimes a month. You got to fly back for the half term. So those are there. Those are just real practical realities. Then on the other side, it was understanding that when you do this, you need the right team. Getting the right team is a difference. I wouldn't make any comparisons. It's different in the US than being here. So I guess I still work with some of my team in the States. So sometimes if we really want to get a picture done, I'm working with folks that I have to bring on board because you're still looking to get people to work with. And we've built a great team in Nigeria, so we're looking forward to
that's good.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. So what would you say has been your greatest moment so far? So I'm sure there's more to come.
There's more to come, but I'll tell you two. Interestingly, the work I've done that has had the most impact on me isn't on film.
Okay.
It's been on stage. I direct on stage as well, and then of course artistically direct, not just the creative directing. I had the opportunity of working on a stage musical, Kakadu the musical in Nigeria, and I'm still waiting for the second shoe to drop, so to speak. It was a resounding success. Prior to starting that, people were like, "What is a Nigerian musical?" But it brought me back to my love, which was theater. And of course, the producer who, put his money where his wishes were, because it's an expensive venture. But we have so much talent in Nigeria. It is, that's just an understatement. But let's just say that it took, after the first year, the second year, we had the opportunity of representing Nigeria in Davos as well. Okay. But then being invited to South Africa, to the Joburg Theater, and this is a fantastic, let's just say that by the time we finished it there, it's very difficult to do it anywhere else, because you're talking about a world-class stage, which is fantastic. Space-wise, backstage, on stage, acoustics, electrics. By the time we finished and had every night a standing ovation running for 2 weeks, and having more of an ownership of the show than even in Nigeria for something that is so Nigerian and so part of us. Like I said, I'm still waiting for the second shoe to drop. Wow,
sounds amazing.
It was a great opportunity. I learned a lot on set. a lot, not just working with a great crew, but also understanding that we have a story to tell. We have so many stories to tell. And we've only touched the tip of the iceberg. And if I were to sum everything up in terms of what I do, it is telling the African story. There's too much of it for me to go anywhere else.
That's right. That's right. And only we can tell our story the best way. You know, I mean, I love Hollywood and all that, and obviously we all strive to get there, you know, but when it comes to telling stories, I think it's got to be Africans.
Well, story isn't simply telling. We are living a story.
Exactly.
2 minutes after this is his story. But who's the he? Is us. So when we look at stories, we have to understand stories from the right direction. As I said, when I discovered that made a change in terms of me as an artist, irrespective of what I was doing. Stories are the core of our being. Stories define how we think. They define who we are.
Yeah.
They define who we want to be. So understanding how you encapsulate story and put it, whether you're telling it on stage, you're telling it through dance, you're telling it through music, art, whichever format you want, it's about telling stories. And understanding that is what has helped me bridge being a director on stage, being a director in film, whether I'm doing TV series or training. All of it is about building stories and empowering more people to deliver their experiences that give unique stories that neither one of us individually can actually bring. It is the search for truth. So that's the empowerment I feel when I get into, you know, this business in whatever genre or format I get in.
That's very good. You're very deep, aren't you? Very deep. Okay. So are there any persons, in particular, whether it's Hollywood or Nollywood, that you would love to work with, that you really admire and that you love to work with?
Several people.
Okay.
Several people. When I look at, I simply look at directors, for instance. There are directors whom I've worked with. I've had the opportunity of working with Steven Spielberg. Several people. He's a great inspiration in terms of watching him and seeing what he does. But I also look at Nigerian directors and some of the artists who are there. We have a lot of talent on the ground.
Absolutely.
Working, for instance, with musicians, I think our musical talent is great on its own. But if you fuse it into storytelling,
that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
So I couldn't begin to rattle out the number of artists we have. There are very many. Personally, also looking at in the UK here, we have also a lot of talent, a lot of young talent coming up. There are several other directors whom I have had the opportunity of meeting, who I would like to work with, but there's quite a list. Let's just say that across the board, I'm on the path to meeting each and every one of those people that I feel can deliver.
All right, let's start from the UK then. So who would you like to meet and work with in the UK?
Interestingly, looking at the UK, I've been across. Working on the Amistad, you do realize that several of the cast were from the UK.
Okay.
Chiwetel Ejiofor is a great actor. Chewy is a great actor.
Absolutely.
Great opportunity working with him. I'd love to work with him again. In my first move in here, I worked with Razaka Doti. I think I'd love to work with Raz again. Jaiman Hunsu, who was also part of the cast. So in a way, I'm thinking, you know, it might be a great idea to put the team back together in a way under a picture that is telling our story in our own way. Now, that's something I'll be able to take to the back.
That will be fascinating. Yes. I'd love to get involved with that, actually.
Well, if I put that package together, I can guarantee that you haven't taken our training in terms of the roll camera acting.
Well, I've been to acting school already anyway, so because I went to Identity School of Acting, so yes. I think I'm good. Well, but you know what?
I agree with that, but I'll also say this. Coming from theater, I know that the show never ends. The show must go on.
It's still in a learning process.
It's constant.
It still goes on.
Story goes on. It goes on. And you're always looking to perfect life. And life is never perfect.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will definitely pay you guys a visit again when you come back. Who would you say is somebody that has inspired you to even become what you are today? Who was your role model?
My father.
That's good. Tell me
I guess
about
that's the
him.
first time I've kind of said that. Well, my father, was a judge.
Okay.
And as I said, I was the last out of 6. And if I looked at it, I was the one who, in a way, was most like him. But my father was also a filmmaker. Most people never knew that. I grew up watching the movies he would make. Think of this. In the 60s, having an 8mm camera. My father also schooled here in the UK. And had this projector in the house. So before the days of, video and all that, he would put up, the screen in the house and we would watch the movies he had made. He had this opportunity of going to Olympics right from 1972 when I was a little kid. I remember that's when he does his vacations. So he will film all these things. So we got to see the world in our house with the projector, and he will send it here to the UK. They'll watch the film, they'll bring it, and he'll put it on. So I grew up with that. So in a way, he was a judge, but he was a filmmaker. And my mom, who in a way was a homemaker, but also had a fantastic voice, could have become famous, singing in the convent with my auntie. She said, if it wasn't these days, they would be famous. Because, yeah. So I come from, in a way, a combination of artists who didn't make it professional, but because, life was different then. But I had the opportunity, being the last out of 6, to take this on and say, you know what, this is a voice that I'm going to, speak with. And he was also a photographer, an avid photographer. So, one of the things he bequeathed to me before passing is we have these tons of albums.
Oh, wow.
So literally where I'm from, he has the, the photos of everybody's birth and everybody's weddings. So say, do something with this. And I promised I would. I'm still working on it.
Okay.
So that's been my greatest influence. And at the same time, when I first started out to do theater, he wanted me to do law, of course, being a judge. And it was like, well, I went to university, and after the first year, I came back and was like, all right, let's have a chat. So what do you want to do with this? And I had this elaborate plan, well, I was going to do this, then do mass comm. I stopped there. If you don't know what you're going to do with what you're doing right now, then you're on the wrong path. I'm not going to tell you to change, but go back and find out what you want to do. So in my second year in university, whilst others were still, cool, we're partying, I was like, what does this do? What does that do? What do you do with this? What do you do with that? And that forced me by pretty much, in a 4-year course, by my 3rd year, I was doing final year stuff.
That's really good.
So that's been my greatest inspiration in terms of just trying to stay focused on something that's quite tough and is a long gestation career.
Okay, that's amazing. So if you had an opportunity to remake a classic film that you really, really love, what film would that be?
If you've had the opportunity of seeing Shaka Zulu,
Wow, yes.
Okay.
That's a long time ago.
Well, 1987, I think.
Yes.
It's one of the pictures that most influenced me because I saw the African story told deeper than I had ever seen it told before. I would want to do that again, but this time make it the African story, not just narrowed down to the Zulu experience, but the continental story. I think it's a beautiful picture. It was well made. The director, really did a good job. And at the same time, I like being on the lighting side as well, being a DP. The shots were fantastic. I mean, you had fantastic vistas, you had fantastic shots, and just the way they made the late Harry Sele be majestic really influenced me, and it's something I'd like to touch on again.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Fascinating. Okay, the previous guest, I asked him the same questions. I'm going to ask you this question again.
Sure.
How does this Brexit thing affect what you do? Does it affect it in any way at all?
It's just another story.
What are you going to do? Are you going to do a movie on Brexit?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? But here's the point. What you're asking me now is a theme, is a documentary. Who knows how Brexit affects me and affects you? How does it affect us? We hear a lot about general things, but it's our story. So for me, it's just another story. It's another story to look out to say, is there somebody who needs to hear something they're not hearing, maybe in the mainstream? being an independent filmmaker, is there something I can say about this? Because we have unique experiences that others don't know about, and they'll never know about. Because you and I may not be mainstream, but our story adds to the whole canvas of truth about Brexit.
Well, I don't know what the truth is, if you ask me, because at the moment, even our Prime Minister is still trying to muddle the waters of, wade through the oceans of
maybe
coming to a decision even. So it's tricky, isn't it?
Maybe we're trying to look at this simply from the political point of view. I also look at it from the human point of view. You know,
yeah, I suppose.
The human point of view is, you know, what are we looking for? What do people individually feel? Are you hearing enough voices across the board? You know, it's not just a pro and con thing. It's not two ways. What it is, the definition of it is people's lives. That's
exactly.
really it. The definition of anything political is people's lives. The truth about people's lives. We all make decisions based on one influence or the other. Sometimes compensatory measures are how we live our lives. So for me as a storyteller, it's just another story.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And the other question I asked him was this. This black on black crime that's just become crazy. Now I know it's another story. So apart from the fact that it's another story to tell, which I think we should tell, but the story has to have a happy ending, because at the right now it's so sad. I hear one day after the other, one boy has been shot, one boy has been stabbed, one boy has been this and that and the other, and it's usually the black kids. And funny enough, it's usually the Nigerian kids, for that matter. What is it that Nigerian parents are not doing right? Because as far as I'm concerned, I feel charity begins at home. I know the society has a lot to play in terms of, you know, molding the kids as well, but I think parents have a lot to do with it as well. So what are your thoughts on this?
Two things. Roll camera action workshops actually has targeted this.
Okay.
We've been in talks with one or two people in terms of reaching out to organizations or working with organizations that will help young teens see their lives. See, it's a game story. If they tell their stories, you will get the answers. You see, oftentimes, for instance, one of the key things I understood in doing something like Kakadu the musical, it was simply themed as parents talking to their children, because we weren't listening. We did not have the personal experiences of the 60s, of the 40s. You know, I'm sure you look at, you know, some of your parents, you know, fashion and say, you know, they're telling you not to wear those dresses. They wore miniskirts that low.
Well, we're wearing them now, aren't we?
There you go. So time has come around again in a circle.
Yeah.
So it's about us speaking to each other. And I think the parents need to speak to the kids need to speak to the parents, and society needs to take cognizance of what the dialogue is about. So that's where we come in. We imagine a situation where you have 4 or 5 young teens given a camera to say, document your story. We will teach you how to tell us, to go to those places that you find interesting but we think is abhorrent, and tell us your story. That's part of what we're doing.
That's fantastic, yeah.
And so that's part of why we say we look at corporates saying, look, come on board, support what we're doing, because we're reaching out for social causes as well. Because storytelling is an opportunity for us to deal with some of these challenges that we're having in our societies. So we're looking forward to that being a success. I can't tell you, I'm a parent. I know some of the challenges I deal with, but I also know that so many people deal with different parents.
That's right.
And so many kids deal with their own challenges. The parents themselves have their challenges. So we can begin to narrow down at 1 or 2 different issues in society and try to chronicle them all. I would rather say experience and share the experience with others through a story. I'm a storyteller. I'm a filmmaker. It's got to come from that direction. So yes, it's another story, but we're actually doing something about it.
So has any of those kids reached out to you yet?
We've only worked with one.
Okay.
We've only worked with one. We hope that local authorities and those who are having these challenges will look at a package of that sort and say, you know what, this is something we want to work with. I know.
So how are they going to know that? Have you reached out to them to tell them, we've worked with these kids, this is his experience?
We have this on our website. If you go to roll-camera roll-camera-action.com. That's one of the programs which we have.
Okay.
And if they send us an email, at the same client@blackwingpro.org.
Say again?
Client.
Client.
Yes, client at black as in the color, wing as in flight.
One word.
PRO.org.
Okay.
We will send them a package so they can see how it works, how they can get involved, and also look at success stories of how these have helped young teens. I've had the opportunity of doing this also in America, in the States.
Okay.
A large part of what I was doing with a colleague, we had a theater company called Oriki Theater. And if you Google it, we started a rite of passage program in the city of Oakland. We've done it in the city of San Jose. We've done it in the city of Mountain View. And we worked with the local authority and with the councils to say, what were you going to do? One of the most interesting, we worked with the East Bay Prenatal, Council. They basically provided further education or complete education for young teens who became pregnant. And we're doing this in two of the most endangered schools in Oakland. And it was a fantastic opportunity because the first time I got into class, myself and the other artist, the drummer who came, when we finished, we couldn't speak for 15, 20 minutes driving back because we saw these almost like our daughters, like our young sisters. But by the time we finished, one of the most interesting things was that just moving around, I didn't live in Oakland, he did. And he would be moving around Oakland and just have somebody shout, "Hi!" across, because they felt a sense of brotherhood and they went through this rite of passage, which was not just telling their stories, but owning their future. And that made a difference for them. So that became something that we were able to package under Oriki Theater to do with, San Jose, the city of San Jose, rite of passage program for boys. So it's been something we've carried. People need to own their existence, but they also need mentorship.
Exactly.
Every community needs to provide that. And you have the skills to do it, and you have the people. You just need to be able to put them in the right package. And that's what we're trying to also, bring here to the UK.
Okay. So for the youths out there then, what would you say to them in terms of getting them to come to your training or to your program? How are you reeling them in? Is it just through Facebook or WhatsApp? How are you
Social media is one.
advertising it? Yeah.
We have some promos that are also on our site that are on Facebook, that are on LinkedIn, and then we're also connecting with a couple of other organizations. We're sending this to two local authorities. And we're saying, hey, here's something that we think you might be interested in. But social media is one of the biggest because this is where they connect.
Yeah.
Is where they congregate. So you could put out flyers out there, you could put out posters out there, not necessarily. And I guess this is an opportunity for people to also listen and say, hey, you know what? Check it out. www.roll-camera-action.com. Check out the website and click into the workshop program.
Is there a number they can contact you on as well if they want to just talk?
Yes,
Just for
they can call at 0787-184-3261. And just say you're calling about the R-Cam or the roll-camera workshops, and you get all the information you need.
Say the number again one more time.
That's 0787-184-3261.
Fantastic. That's really wonderful talking to you. Before you go, what are you doing for Christmas?
Christmas. Working. But I have family over, so I'm having a bit of a party on the 29th.
See, you were going to keep that quiet without inviting us.
Well, now that I've said it, you're invited.
Sounds fun. Thank you very much
Thanks,
for taking time to come and talk to us
No,
today.
it's great. I mean,
really
for
been
you
fun.
anytime. And you're family now, you're part of the team.
Absolutely.
That's the whole idea about what we
Absolutely.
do is, you're part of it. The creative business is a family.
Yes, absolutely. And it's exciting. And I'm looking forward to coming to see you guys. Although Dagenham is quite far from me now. I mean, I live, it's like the other end of the world.
Well, we have it both in Cheshunt, in the
Okay.
studios, and then we've also moved to Dagenham because we needed to reach into East London.
Yeah.
And we're hoping by next year it should be in Nigeria.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's a traveling package. The instructors basically go wherever it is that we can share our story and share the experience.
Okay, wonderful. So I look forward to that. So thank you very much for coming here today.
It's a pleasure.
And hopefully we'll invite you back next time to let us know how it's going.
We would love to tell a good story there.
Yes, yes, yes. So take care, and we'll
so
talk
much.
to you again real soon.
Great.
Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We'll be right back after this.